The Vraxian Imperium began to fracture from within. Their military stretched beyond breaking point, their economy collapsing, their leaders turning against each other, the humans advancing with methodical precision, system by system, world by world in. The Imperial Palace Supreme Commander Drex faced open rebellion from his officers. "You promised us victory," he shouted as guards dragged away another failed general. "You promised the humans would break." No one met his eyes. No one offered solutions. The humans did not behave as expected, did not fight as predicted, did not respond to provocations. The Ghost Fleet moved through Vraxian space like vengeful spirits, untouchable, unstoppable. Intelligence Director Morven watched from the shadows. She had warned them. Now she prepared her own escape, knowing the Empire was doomed on the human command ship. Justice Admiral Olivia Blackwood reviewed the final phase of operations. The Ghost Fleet had secured all human territories. Now they pushed into the heart of Vraxian space. Not for conquest, but for accountability, Intelligence Director Mary Sullivan entered the command center, bringing the latest psychological profiles of Vraxian leadership. "We have them breaking apart from within," she reported. "Fear is spreading through their command structure. Each leader blames others for the failure. Each prepares to save themselves." Mary headed the Psychological Warfare Division. Her teams crafted precisely targeted misinformation for Vraxian commanders, each message designed to exploit individual fears and weaknesses, each furthering the dissolution of Vraxian command structure. Olivia nodded. "Send the final warning to all remaining Vraxian territories across Vraxian space." The message appeared on every communication device in homes, on ships, and government buildings. The humans spoke with one voice. "Justice comes. All who participated in crimes against humanity will answer. All who profited will pay. All who enabled will face consequences on." The recently liberated colony world's General Catherine Powell coordinated the final insurgencies. Her Special Operations Command had spent months preparing resistance cells on every Vraxian world, using quantum-encrypted communications undetectable by Vraxian surveillance. She addressed her team leaders from a secure bunker. "Phase 4 begins now," she said. "All resistance cells activate simultaneously. Target Vraxian government installations, communication centers, military bases. Focus on leadership. Extraction. They cannot hide, they cannot run, they cannot escape." Across Vraxian space, the coordinated uprisings began. Perfect synchronization. Perfect targeting. Colonial species long oppressed by the Vraxians joined the human-led resistance. Freedom. Fighters emerged from hiding, striking precise blows at the crumbling empire. The Vraxian military, already stretched thin, defending against the Ghost Fleet, now faced enemies from within. Unable to tell friend from foe, they abandoned outlying territories, retreating to defend core systems. In the Galactic Council chamber, now relocated to neutral space, Council Representative Diana Rivera presented evidence that senior council members had been bribed or coerced into supporting the Vraxian campaign. The data collected by Human Intelligence Services was irrefutable. This was not merely an attack on humanity, she told the stunned assembly. It was an assault on the very foundation of galactic civilization, on the principles that bind us together. The Vraxians must answer not just to humans but to all species who believe in justice. The council, long dominated by Vraxian influence, now faced a governance crisis. Many representatives resigned in disgrace. Others called for investigations into their own government's alliances, fractured, reformed around a new reality. Humanity would not be ignored, would not be victimized, would not be underestimated again. On the Vraxian homeworld, panic spread through the population. Food shortages worsened. Riots broke out. Security forces deserted their posts. The empire, built on the subjugation of others, now experienced the consequences of their actions. The Vraxian leadership, desperate to regain control, made their final mistake. They ordered the use of planet-killer weapons against major human settlements, a demonstration of resolve, a final attempt to force negotiations. They did not know that Chief Engineer Susan Taylor had anticipated this. Years earlier, Her trade delegation had visited Vraxian shipyards before the conflict. Her team had planted backdoors in weapons targeting systems, hidden code that waited for the right moment. When the Vraxians launched their planet killers, the weapons activated jumped to hyperspace. But they did not target human worlds. Instead, they emerged in Vraxian space, detonating above 3 primary fleet anchorages. The devastation beyond imagination. In the emergency bunker beneath the Imperial Palace, Supreme Commander Drex watched the destruction on security feeds, understanding finally dawning. "We never had a chance," he whispered. "The humans were always steps ahead. They let us believe we had power over them. It was an illusion, Intelligence Director." Morven nodded from the doorway. "They studied us while we studied them," she said. "But they learned who we truly were while we saw only what we wanted to see." Her hand moved to a hidden device on her wrist, a signal sent, a promise kept. Across the palace, alarms sounded. Security systems failed, doors open, defense grids powered down. The final human infiltration teams emerged from hiding. Not soldiers, but engineers, technicians, data specialists. The true power behind human victory. Morven looked at Drex one last time. "I warned you," she said, removing her disguise, revealing human features. The woman known as Kara Winter's intelligence operative, deep cover agent. The architect of Vraxian downfall. Drex could only stare as human forces entered the room. The empire he had served his entire life had fallen not to superior firepower but to superior understanding. The humans had known his people better than they knew themselves on Earth. Admiral Olivia Blackwood received confirmation of the palace capture. Vraxian leadership secured resistance. Minimal. The final phase could begin. She opened a channel to all human forces and allies. "The military phase of this conflict is over," she announced. "Now we begin the true reckoning. The establishment of justice, not vengeance. Peace, not dominance. A new order based on mutual respect and accountability, on the former Vraxian throne world now under human control." Major Stephanie Howard prepared the tribunal chambers. Evidence gathered, documented, preserved. The proceedings would be broadcast to every corner of the galaxy. The truth would be known by all. The first defendants arrived: former Vraxian leaders, military commanders, government officials, those who had planned, executed, and profited from the attack on humanity. They expected summary execution. The fate they would have delivered to conquered enemies. Instead, they faced something more terrifying. Justice, evidence, accountability. The proceedings methodical, detailed, irrefutable. The judgments swift and final. Dr. Amy Crawford supervised the final preparations of the temporal containment field. The most advanced human technology repurposed not for destruction, but for lasting consequence. The Vraxian homeworld would remain intact, its people alive, but forever changed. "This is not punishment," she explained to the gathered scientists. "This is protection. Protection for the galaxy from those who would conquer, subjugate, destroy. This is the human way. We do not exterminate. We transform." Human forces discovered the worlds the Vraxians had conquered. Before encountering Earth, species subjugated, exploited their cultures and achievements stolen, and claimed as Vraxian accomplishments. The true history revealed, recorded, restored. The reckoning expanded beyond the Vraxians to touch all who had enabled their crimes. Corrupt council members, mercenary groups, arms dealers, all who had profited from suffering, all who had turned blind eyes to atrocities, all who had chosen power over principle. Ambassador Linda Morgan addressed the reformed Galactic Council. "The humans were warned," she said, her voice carrying to all worlds. "Never cross us," but the warning was ignored. "We came in peace. We offered friendship. We extended trust. It was betrayed. Now all species understand the truth. We do not seek war. We do not desire conquest. We want only what all sentient beings deserve: safety. Justice, freedom to determine our own path, but those who threaten these rights, those who believe might makes right, those who see others as resources to be exploited, they will find no escape from accountability." Across former Vraxian space, new governments formed. Colonial species reclaimed their worlds. their independence, their dignity. Human advisors offering assistance but not control. The message clear: cooperation. With humans brought prosperity. Aggression brought consequences. Admiral Olivia Blackwood stood on the observation deck of her flagship, watching the implementation of the temporal containment field around the Vraxian homeworld. The massive energy barrier shimmering into existence. A permanent reminder of the cost of crossing humanity. Behind her fleet, Captain Michelle Torres joined in silence. They had led humanity through its darkest hour, to an outcome few could have imagined. Not conquest, but transformation. Not destruction, but renewal. The Vraxians will watch the galaxy progress, Olivia said without looking away. They will observe, but never again participate. Their world preserved, their people alive but contained, their legacy erased, their accomplishments credited to those they stole from. They wanted to rule the stars instead. They will serve as the greatest warning in galactic history. Michelle nodded. The Ghost Fleet would remain operational, not as a threat, but as a promise. Protection for peaceful species, consequence for aggressors. The humans would ensure that the lesson written in the stars would never be forgotten. They were warned, she. The Vraxian High Command gathered in their emergency bunker deep beneath the Imperial Palace. The room designed to withstand any attack felt suddenly vulnerable. Supreme Commander Drex stared at the holographic display showing their territory. Red markers covered the map, each representing a lost installation, a destroyed fleet, a fallen world. The pattern was clear, methodical, unstoppable. How can they move without detection? Drex demanded, slamming his fist on the table. Our sensor network is the most advanced in the galaxy. Yet these human ships, the Ghost Fleet, appear and disappear at will. Science. Minister Varl stepped forward. The humans are using technology. We thought theoretical. Quantum entanglement, navigation, partial dimensional, shifting. We dismissed such concepts as impossible. Our scientists said the energy requirements would be too great. But the humans found a way, Drex said bitterly. They always do. Intelligence, Director Morven replied. They call it the Ghost Fleet for good reason. Our forces cannot track them, cannot predict their movements, cannot stop them. On the human command ship Spectre, Dr. Patricia Donovan monitored the quantum entanglement system. Her creation allowed the fleet to partially exist in multiple dimensions, making them untraceable by conventional sensors. The Vraxians still searched for energy signatures, not understanding that human ships used gravitational manipulation. Instead, Commander Dawn Harper entered the navigation center. Her battle uniform showing signs of recent combat. We have confirmed destruction of all primary targets, she reported. When do we move to secondary targets? Patricia checked her calculations. The system needs 4 hours to recalibrate. The dimensional stress is within acceptable parameters, but we should not push beyond safety limits. Dawn nodded. The human fleet operated on a principle the Vraxians could not comprehend. Patience. Every strike was calculated, planned, tested in simulation before execution. No wasted effort. No heroic last stands, no glorious battles. Just precise application of overwhelming force at exactly the right point. Across Vraxian space, the mysterious human fleet struck again and again. Each attack, destroying critical infrastructure. Each vanishing before defensive forces could respond. The pattern seemed random to Vraxian analysts. It was not. The attack systematically isolated. Vraxian battle groups cutting supply lines, creating confusion, forcing them to defend targets of little strategic value. On the liberated human colony of New Terra, Commodore Allison Reed prepared her flotilla for the most daring operation yet. A direct assault on the main Vraxian fleet gathered at Proxima Centauri. Her ships were outnumbered, 3-1 exactly as planned. The Vraxians will expect us to avoid direct confrontation, she told her captains. They believe we only strike where they are weak. They are wrong. We will engage them where they are strongest and show them the full extent of human warfare. In her private quarters, she activated the Thanatos Protocol, the most closely guarded human weapon. a system that created artificial spatial folds, redirecting enemy weapons fire back at its source. The ultimate defensive system, turned offense. Developed years before first contact with alien life by scientists who understood that humanity might one day face superior forces, unoccupied Earth resistance leader Madison Grant coordinated underground operations from a hidden bunker. The Vraxian occupiers faced a population that seemed cooperative by day but struck without warning. At night, vehicles exploded, communication systems failed, supply depots burned. The Vraxians responded with increasing brutality, public executions, hostage-taking mass arrests. It only strengthened human resolve. Madison knew what the Vraxians did not. The Ghost Fleet was coming home, in Vraxian space. The battle at Proxima Centauri began. The Imperial Fleet commanders felt confident as they detected the approaching human ships. Such a small force against their armada suicide. They thought victory assured. They fired their weapons, powerful energy beams that could shatter planets, missiles that carried extinction-level payloads. The space between fleets lit up with destructive potential. Then the impossible happened. The human ships activated the Thanatos Protocol. The artificial spatial folds appeared like tears in reality. The Vraxian weapons fire disappeared into the folds and emerged behind. The Vraxian fleet, the Imperial Armada caught in its own crossfire. The devastation was beyond comprehension. Ships destroyed by their own weapons, defenses overwhelmed by familiar attack patterns. The few survivors fled in disarray, spreading tales of human witchcraft footage of the battle transmitted across galactic networks. The myth of Vraxian military superiority shattered in a single engagement in the Galactic Council chamber. Ambassador Linda Morgan addressed the representatives of 100 worlds. "We did not start this conflict," she said, her voice steady. "We sought peaceful integration. The Vraxians chose betrayal. Now, we offer a choice to all. Stand with humanity, or stand aside. There is no third option." The council members, once dominated by Vraxian influence, now saw a new power emerging. Human warships protected trade routes. Human forces liberated oppressed worlds. Human technology offered defense against Vraxian aggression. One by one, former Vraxian allies declared neutrality, or openly supported human forces. On the Vraxian homeworld, panic spread through the population. The government imposed martial law. Food rationing began as supply ships failed to arrive. Citizens who questioned the war disappeared. The empire built on conquest began to implode. Intelligence Director Morvan presented her findings to the High Command. "The humans are not just fighting our military," she explained. "They are attacking our society, our economy, our alliances. They understand this is not merely a conflict of weapons but a clash of civilizations. And they are winning. What terrifies me most," she continued, "is their patience, their precision. They do not celebrate victories. They do not seek glory. They simply execute their campaign with cold efficiency. No demands for surrender, no opportunity for negotiation. Just the systematic dismantling of everything we built." Supreme Commander Drex had no response. The Vraxian military doctrine had no answer to an enemy that refused to follow established rules of warfare, that struck without warning, without honor, without mercy, that used technology thought impossible. On the Ghost Fleet command ship, Fleet Captain Michelle Torres received the report from the Battle of Proxima Centauri. Total victory. Minimal human casualties. The Thanatos Protocol performed beyond expectations. "We have shattered their main fleet," Michelle told her officers. "Now we begin the final phase. Operation Homecoming across human space. Resistance forces received the coded message. The time had come. The full liberation of all human territory. The return to Earth." Dr. Samantha Green coordinated the intelligence network, her screens showing Vraxian force deployments. All predictable, all anticipated their responses, now so transparent she could predict their orders before their commanders gave them. The advantage of understanding an enemy that never bothered to understand you. On a dozen occupied worlds, Human resistance forces rose simultaneously. Vraxian garrisons found themselves fighting enemies that knew their protocols, their weaknesses, their fallback positions. Precise strikes guided by intelligence gathered over months. The Vraxian response forces scrambling to contain the uprisings never saw the ghost. Fleet-arrived ships appearing in orbit without warning. Precision strikes eliminating defensive capabilities, then vanishing again, leaving the ground forces to complete the liberation. On Earth, Madison Grant led her resistance fighters from the underground, striking at Vraxian headquarters, disabling security systems, opening the way for returning human forces. The occupiers caught between attacks from within and without. The liberation of Earth took less than 24 hours. The Vraxian forces broken, scattered in full retreat. What had taken them weeks to conquer humans reclaimed in a day. Admiral Olivia. Blackwood stood once again in the Earth Defense Command Center, her eyes taking in the damage, the lost lives, the cost of Vraxian betrayal. Her voice steady as she addressed the returning fleet. Reclamation is complete. Phase 4 begins immediately. The Vraxians must understand there is a cost for crossing humanity, a price they will pay in full. On the Vraxian homeworld, the High Command faced the unthinkable, their military forces in disarray, their economy collapsing, their allies abandoning them, the humans advancing methodically through their territory. Supreme Commander Drex faced the inevitable. We must sue for peace, he said, his voice hollow. We must offer unconditional surrender before they reach our homeworld intelligence director. Morven shook her head. You still do not understand the humans, she said. They do not want our surrender. They want justice, and they will define what that means. The Vraxian High Command sent an unprecedented message to human authorities, an offer of unconditional surrender. They expected mercy negotiation, the chance to preserve something of their empire. The response they received chilled them to their core. Surrender not accepted. The reckoning comes. Across the galaxy, species watched in awe and terror as humanity continued its advance. Not with rage, not with joy, but with the cold precision of surgeons removing a cancer. The message, clear to all: never cross the humans or you will never escape. 3 months passed since the Vraxian attack. The galaxy waited for human surrender. It never came. On the Vraxian command vessel, Supreme Commander Drex addressed his war council. Our forces hold Earth orbit and all major human colonies. The resistance we encounter is disorganized and weak. The humans lack the resources to mount an effective counterattack. His officers nodded in agreement. Except one intelligence director, Morven, looked troubled. Supreme Commander, with respect, I find the human silence concerning. They have not attempted to negotiate. They have not pleaded for mercy. They have simply gone quiet. Drex dismissed her concerns with a wave. The humans are primitive. Their communication networks are destroyed. They hide and lick their wounds. It is the natural response of a defeated species. Deep in Vraxian territory, a human woman named Kara Winters served drinks in a military cantina. Her skin altered to a pale blue. Her eyes changed to solid black. No one suspected she was human. Her enhanced hearing caught fragments of conversation. Fleet movements, security protocols, command rotations. She remembered everything. Later, in her small quarters, she transmitted the information using a method no Vraxian could detect. Her implants converted data to quantum states sent instantaneously across the galaxy. No technology required, just altered human biology. Another secret the Vraxians never discovered. On a mining colony under Vraxian control, school teacher Nancy Bell taught alien language to human children. The Vraxians wanted humans to learn their language to better serve their new masters. They did not know Nancy altered subtle meanings, creating a coded language. The children understood, but Vraxians did not. Each day. Vraxian officers passed her school. Nancy smiled and bowed, her perfect memory recording their numbers, routines, weaknesses, all information transmitted through the resistance network, building a complete picture of enemy operations. In a repair shop on another occupied world, mechanic Kelly Foster fixed Vraxian vehicles. Her fingers moved quickly, making the required repairs while adding tiny, almost undetectable flaws. Components that would fail at specific times. Power couplings that would overload under stress. Fuel lines that would leak after exactly 300 hours of operation. The Vraxians thought humans were accepting their new reality. They were wrong, hidden in the Kuiper Belt beyond the edge of the solar system. Fleet Captain Michelle Torres inspected the final preparations of the Ghost Fleet. 12 ships unlike anything humanity had built before. Their hulls absorbed sensor scans rather than reflecting them. Their engines left no energy signature. Their weapon systems violated several laws of physics. These vessels represent everything we are, Michelle told the assembled crews. Adaptive, resourceful. Unbound by convention. When the Vraxians studied us, they saw our divisions, our conflicts. They never understood. These were the forge that made us strong. They never realized our science fiction writers had imagined and solved problems their scientists never considered. The crews listened silently. Each person chosen for unique skills. Each willing to risk everything. Many had lost family. In the initial attack, all had sworn the new oath: not revenge, not conquest, protection. By any means necessary. On the command ship Spectre, Dr. Patricia Donovan calibrated the quantum entanglement navigation system. Her creation allowed ships to partially exist in multiple dimensions, making them effectively invisible to conventional sensors and allowing them to appear anywhere in space without warning. The system is ready. Captain, she reported. We can jump simultaneously to all primary targets. No. Warning. No defense, Michelle nodded. We launch in 6 hours. Alert all crews across human space. Resistance cells received the coded message. Hidden weapons were distributed. Sabotage plans finalized. Everyone prepared for their role in what would come. Vraxian Prime, the Imperial capital. Magistrate Koth reviewed reports from the occupied human territories. Resources flowed in human labor supplied the workforce. The conquest was profitable, exactly as planned. A communication officer interrupted his review. Supreme Magistrate, we have lost contact with Outpost 976. Koth looked up, annoyed. Probably equipment failure. Send a maintenance crew. Before the officer could respond, another alert sounded. Then another and another. Communications lost with multiple installations, reports of explosions. Sensor stations gone dark. Defense platforms failing. Koth rose from his seat. What is happening? No one had answers. Only confusion. Fear at 37 critical Vraxian installations across the galaxy. The Ghost Fleet appeared simultaneously. Each ship emerging from quantum space directly alongside its target. No warnings, no demands. Perfect coordination. On the primary Vraxian fuel depot, Commander Don Harper gave one order: fire the advanced. Human weapons tore through Vraxian defenses as if they were not there. The entire facility exploded in silence, the vacuum of space swallowing the destruction. Before Vraxian sensors could lock on the human ships, vanished. Slipping between dimensions, the same scene played out across Vraxian space. Command centers destroyed shipyards, crippled communication hubs, silenced all, without a single human transmission. All completed in under 6 minutes. On the occupied mining world, the children in Nancy Bell's class watched as the Vraxian patrol ships suddenly exploded overhead. The sabotage devices Kelly Foster had planted activated simultaneously across the planet. Vraxian vehicles, weapons, and communication equipment failed everywhere. Nancy gathered the children. The time has come, she told them. Your parents are waiting at the evacuation point. Remember everything we practiced. Across the colony, humans emerged from hiding, overwhelming the confused Vraxian forces. Within hours, the planet was back, under human control. Similar uprisings occurred on 6 other worlds, coordinated perfectly. On the Vraxian command vessel, alarms blared. Supreme Commander Drex shouted for explanations. His officers had none. How is this possible? He demanded. How can they coordinate attacks across such distances with no communications? Intelligence Director Morvan spoke quietly. They warned us. Their historical records showed a species that adapted to all challenges. a species that turned defeats into victories, a species that never forgot its enemies. We dismissed their warnings as primitive bravado. From the shadows of the command center, a junior officer stepped forward, removing her disguise. Kara Winters smiled at the shocked Vraxians. "You should have studied us better," she said, as the ship systems began to fail around them. "The humans you captured and studied were not our best and brightest. They were decoys, allowing us to observe you on the Spectre." Michelle Torres received confirmation. All targets neutralized. All resistance cells activated. Phase 1 complete. Minimal human casualties. She opened a channel to all Ghost Fleet vessels. "Well done. Now we begin Phase 2. The Vraxians believe they are fighting a conventional war. They are not. They are fighting humanity. The rules are different. Ambassador Linda Morgan once believed in peaceful cooperation. Now she traveled to worlds oppressed by the Vraxians, offering evidence of atrocities and promises of protection. One by one, former Vraxian allies changed sides. Neutral powers began providing support to human forces. On a former Earth colony, now liberated, Dr. Samantha Green coordinated intelligence from 1,000 sources, information from Kara and other deep cover agents, resistance, reports, strategic analysis, all flowing into predictive models showing Vraxian responses before they happened. No secrets, no surprises, just inevitable defeat. The humans gave no speeches, made no demands, issued no ultimatums. They simply acted with cold precision, dismantling the Vraxian war machine piece by piece. Admiral Olivia Blackwood watched reports from the Ghost Fleet operations with grim satisfaction. The Vraxians had expected humanity to play by galactic rules of warfare. They expected humans to value honor over victory, to follow conventions established by older species. They were wrong on the Vraxian homeworld. Panic spread through the government. How can we fight an enemy that disappears? How can we defend against weapons that ignore our shields? How can we track ships that exist between dimensions? The answer came from an unexpected source, a historian who specialized in ancient conflicts. "Our only hope is to understand them," he said. "We must study human warfare, not just human technology." Too late. The Ghost Fleet was already moving to Phase 3. The Vraxians had started this war with a surprise attack on humans. Now they would experience what humans could really do when provoked. And unlike the Vraxians, humanity would not make the mistake of leaving enemies with the means to strike back. The next phase would show the galaxy why the oldest human warning was the most important. They were warned, never cross the humans, or you will never escape. 10 years passed since the Vraxian reckoning, the galaxy transformed by the conflict and its aftermath. The humans once seen as newcomers now stood as the predominant peacekeeping force. Their technology, their methods, their justice reshaping interstellar relations. Admiral Beth Rivers surveyed the command center of the Terran Protectorate headquarters. The massive space station orbited Earth, a symbol of human resilience and determination. Screens displayed the status of Ghost Fleet vessels patrolling key trade routes in border regions, their presence ensuring the peace hard-won through sacrifice. "We have reports from the Centauri sector," Beth said to her officers. "The Hyar Collective is pressuring the Alarian Alliance again, demanding resource, rights-threatening military action." Colonel Vanessa Reed nodded. "The Hyar never learn, do they? They think because they were neutral during the Vraxian conflict, our agreements don't apply to them. The Alarians are a developing species," Beth replied. "They fall under our protection. Send Ghost Squadron 7 to the sector observation only for now. Let the Hyar see them, but no engagement unless absolutely necessary." This was the new order. Humanity extending protection to developing civilizations, ensuring their right to evolve without interference or exploitation. A policy enforced not through treaties or agreements but through the ever-present knowledge of what happened to the Vraxians on the Vraxian homeworld, now called Reminder. The population lived behind the shimmering wall of the temporal containment field. They could observe the galaxy, communicate, receive visitors, but never leave, never expand, never threaten another species again. Dr. Amy Crawford now, ambassador to Reminder, walked through. The capital city, the Vraxians, had changed in the decades since their defeat. Humbled, transformed. Many of the younger generation worked to understand what had led their species to such destructive pride. Such costly arrogance. Amy met with the new Vraxian Council elected leaders who had risen after the old regime fell. They discussed education reform, cultural exchange, limited trade agreements, the slow, careful path toward redemption. We have completed the Historical Accuracy Project Council, leader Nara said as they walked through the Central Museum. Once we claimed the achievements of a dozen species as our own. Now we teach our children the truth, our true history, our true place in the galaxy. Amy nodded. The containment field would remain for another century minimum. The humans were patient but not foolish. The Vraxians would have generations to demonstrate true change before rejoining galactic society, in the heart of former Vraxian space on worlds once stripped of resources. And identity new civilizations flourished. The Marn, the Jalari, the Vosk. All species previously conquered by the Vraxian Imperium, now rebuilding their cultures, reclaiming their heritage. Ambassador Nicole Sanders represented humanity at the Treaty of Renewal. The formal agreement establishing the boundaries, rights, and responsibilities of these emerging powers. Her voice calm as she addressed the gathered delegates. Humanity does not seek to rule. She told them, "We wish only to ensure that the mistakes of the past are not repeated, that no species uses technological advantage to dominate others, that all sentient beings have the right to determine their own path." The delegates listened with respect and caution. They had seen what happened to those who crossed humanity. They had witnessed the reckoning none wished to test human resolve on Earth in the Memorial Gardens. Madison Grant, now Director of Historical Records, walked with a group of alien visitors. Her resistance leadership, during occupation now legendary among species who valued freedom. The Vraxians believed we would surrender when they struck our orbital defenses, she explained as they passed monuments to those lost in the conflict. They expected us to behave as they would have intimidated by superior force seeking terms to preserve our lives. What they failed to understand, she continued, was that humans had spent millennia fighting each other. Every possible strategy, tactic, and countermeasure tested, refined, perfected in conflicts across our history. When we reached the stars, we brought that knowledge with us, not because we sought war, but because we had learned from it. The visitors from a dozen worlds listened carefully, taking notes, recording her words. This was why they came: to understand, to learn. To ensure their own species never made the same mistakes. In deep space beyond the edge of explored territory, the research vessel Horizon drifted silently. Dr. Samantha Green, now chief xenologist, monitored long-range sensors. Her life dedicated to peaceful contact with new species. Her experience during the Vraxian conflict shaping her approach. We detect artificial signals originating from the fourth planet, she told her team. Consistent with early industrial civilization. Recommend we maintain observation protocols. No contact until they achieve interstellar capability, her second-in-command. Nia Patel nodded. We don't want to disrupt their natural development. Neither spoke the deeper truth. Humanity had learned the cost of rushed first contact, had learned to approach new species with caution, respect, and patience. The ghost of the Vraxian conflict shaped all human policy. In the Galactic Council, now restructured, transformed, Ambassador Diana Rivera watched the proceedings with satisfaction. The human-led reforms had created a more equitable representative body. No species could dominate as the Vraxians once had. No voice silenced by power or tradition. When the Yar collective representative rose to protest the presence of Ghost Fleet vessels in the Centauri sector, Diana merely smiled. The Terran Protectorate guarantees the independence of developing civilizations. She said simply, this is not negotiable. The Alarians have the right to develop without interference, without exploitation, without threat. If the Yar wish to discuss resource sharing, we will facilitate such discussions, but threats will not be tolerated. The Yar representative hesitated, seeing the resolve in her eyes. the memory of the Vraxian fate still fresh even after a decade. "We will withdraw our ships," he said finally. "We seek peaceful resolution," Diana nodded. Once this would have required lengthy debate, diplomatic maneuvering, political compromise. Now it required only the reminder they were warned. Never cross the humans. On the edge of former Vraxian space, the Ghost Fleet Training Academy graduated its newest officers. Young men and women from Earth and human colonies, joined now by candidates from allied species. All committed to the principles of the Terran Protectorate, Commander Ellie Reeves addressed the graduates. "You join a force unlike any in galactic history," she said. "Our purpose is not conquest, not expansion, not dominance. Our purpose is protection. The Ghost Fleet exists to ensure that no species ever again suffers what humanity endured, what the Vraxians inflicted on countless others." The graduates stood tall, their uniforms bearing the emblem of the Protectorate, a shield behind, a field of stars. The symbol of the new order, human-led but inclusive, dedicated to ensuring peaceful coexistence. When the Yar Collective ignored the warning, continued their pressure on the Ilarians, the response came swiftly. Commander Grace Williams led Ghost Squadron 7 into Hyar space, their ships appearing simultaneously throughout the Hyar fleet, without warning, without communication. The Hyar weapon systems went offline, their engines powered down, their communications silenced, all without a single shot fired. The Ghost Fleet vessels simply existed alongside them, untouchable, unstoppable. Grace opened a channel to the Yar command vessel. "The Ilarians are under Terran protection," she said, her voice calm. "This is your only warning. Withdraw. Your forces cease all threats or face the consequences. You have 1 hour to comply." The Yar had heard the stories, had dismissed them as exaggeration. Now they witnessed the reality. The humans did not bluster, did not threaten, did not negotiate. They simply acted with absolute certainty, absolute capability, absolute resolve. The Yar fleet withdrew. Their government issued formal apologies. Their leadership replaced their society, restructured, all within a week. No battles, no negotiations, no discussion, just the implementation of a new reality in the central archives beneath the Terran Protectorate headquarters. Historian Julia Bennett completed her documentation of the incident, another chapter in the ongoing story of humanity among the stars. True victory, she wrote, was not measured in conquered territory or subjugated populations, but in creating a peace sustained by the galaxy's collective memory of what happened to those who betrayed us. The Vraxians sought to rule through force. We seek to protect through example. They inspired fear, we inspire respect. They demanded submission, we offer partnership. On the observation deck of the Protectorate flagship, Justice Admiral Beth Rivers watched the stars with quiet satisfaction. A decade of peace. A decade of progress. A decade of transformation. The galaxy learning, adapting, evolving toward something better. She remembered the words spoken by diplomat Nicole Sanders to the reformed Galactic Council years earlier, words now inscribed. At the entrance to every Protectorate facility, humans don't want to rule the galaxy. We simply ensure that those who do play by the rules, our rules, across human space and beyond, the message, spread in whispered conversations among diplomatic circles and military strategists. They were warned, never cross the humans or you will never escape. It wasn't just a threat. It wasn't just a promise. It was a fundamental law of galactic survival, written in the ruins of the once mighty Vraxian Imperium, reinforced by the watchful presence of the Ghost Fleet. As Beth turned from the viewport, her communication officer approached Admiral. "We have detected unusual." The Galactic Council room buzzed with voices as beings from 100 worlds discussed the newest spacefaring species, humans, tall with dark hair. Ambassador Laurel Mason stood straight as she faced the council, her blue uniform marking her as an Earth representative. Laurel felt small under the gaze of so many alien eyes. The Vraxians watched her most closely, their scaled skin reflecting the light. Their leader, Magistrate Koth, nodded toward her with what might have been respect, but something in his eyes made her uncomfortable. "We welcome Earth to our community of worlds," Koth said, his voice smooth. "We have much to share with you." Laurel smiled but kept her words careful. We are eager to join in peaceful trade and knowledge exchange. Our people have much to offer and much to learn. Behind her stood the human delegation scientists and diplomats chosen to represent Earth in this historic meeting. None noticed how the Vraxians studied them with too much interest, light years away. Commander Heather Walsh paced the bridge of her patrol ship, the Sentinel. Her gut told her something was wrong. 3 human outposts had gone silent in the past week. All near Vraxian space, Heather stopped at the main view screen, looking at the star map. 1. Missing outpost could be equipment failure. 2 was concerning. 3 was a pattern. Something is happening out there, she said to her second-in-command, Lieutenant Ava Knight. We need to increase patrols near the border. Ava looked worried. Command thinks, you worry too much. They want us focused on showing our best side to the Galactic Council, not chasing ghosts. Heather frowned. I don't care what they think. Those are our people out there. If the Vraxians think we are easy targets, they will learn how. Wrong they are. On Research Station Horizon orbiting a distant moon, Dr. Samantha Green worked late into the night cycle. Her eyes burned from staring at data streams. Her job was to monitor deep space communications looking for signs of intelligent life beyond known species. The computer alert made her jump. Strange signal pattern detected, unknown origin. Samantha sat up straight and typed commands, bringing the signal pattern on screen. It wasn't random, she realized with growing dread. It was encrypted. Communication, a lot of it. And it was coming from Vraxian ships moving toward human space. Ships that shouldn't be there according to official reports. Samantha hit the emergency communication button. We need to warn Earth, she whispered. The warning never arrived in the Grand Hall of the Vraxian Embassy on Earth. A celebration was underway. Human leaders mingled with alien diplomats. Everyone raised glasses to new friendships and alliances. None noticed how the Vraxian guards moved into position, blocking the exits. In orbit above Earth, the defense grid operators noticed the approaching ships too late. The Vraxian vessels had somehow masked their approach using technology unknown to humans. When the first shots hit the orbital platforms, most crew members had no time to react. Admiral Olivia Blackwood watched in horror from her command center as the defense platforms went dark one by one. Betrayed during peace talks, she thought anger replacing shock. The oldest human story playing out among the stars. Get me a secure channel to all Earth forces and colonies now. She ordered, her voice steady despite her rage. Activate Pandora Protocol. This is not a drill. Her officers paled. Pandora was the emergency response plan created for the worst possible scenario, alien betrayal and attack. It had seemed paranoid when they created it. Now it seemed like foresight. Across human space, hidden military installations powered up. Secret weapon caches were accessed, emergency training kicked. In Blackwood knew they would need every advantage. The Vraxians had studied humans as potential subjects, not as enemies. Their mistake on the Vraxian command ship. Magistrate Koth watched the humans' orbital defenses fall. His officers congratulated each other on their swift victory. The humans will surrender. Now one officer said they are outnumbered and outmatched. Their technology is primitive. Compared to ours, Koth was not so sure. He had read reports about human history, wars that engulfed entire continents, weapons that could destroy worlds. Humans had nearly destroyed themselves multiple times, yet always survived and rebuilt. They are resourceful, he said cautiously. We must crush them completely before they can organize a response to. Laid in a hidden facility deep beneath the lunar surface, Lieutenant Sharon Wright received the Pandora alert. Her hands moved quickly over the activation panel, bringing online weapon systems that had been developed in secret. She and her team had trained for this moment, hoping it would never come. The prototype ships waited in their underground hangar, sleek and black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Designed not by military engineers but by gamers and science fiction writers thinking beyond conventional space warfare. Sharon felt the weight of responsibility as the countdown began. In 24 hours, the first wave of human counterattack would launch. The Vraxians expected surrender. They would get something else entirely in The ruins of the main Earth diplomatic building. Laurel Mason pulled herself from the rubble. Blood ran down her face, but determination kept her moving. She found a communication terminal still working and entered her emergency codes. "This is Ambassador."
"Mason," she said, her voice rough from smoke. "Anyone receiving this message, remember the oath we all took. Humanity will not fall today or any day. The Vraxians believe they know us. They do not light years away." Dr. Samantha Green watched helplessly.
As reports of the attack reached her remote station, she had been right, but too late. The data still flowed through her systems, though, including information about Vraxian ship weaknesses and patrol patterns, information that would be valuable soon. Began downloading everything, preparing for the long journey back toward Earth space. The humans appeared defeated. The Vraxians celebrated victory. Neither understood what was coming. Admiral Blackwood stood before the Emergency Council of Military Leaders, her face grim on the screens. "The Vraxians think they know what humanity is capable of," she said. "They studied our technology, our biology, our resources, but they never truly studied our history." She brought up the emergency plans on all screens. "They never learned what happens when humans are backed into a corner. We do not surrender, we do not forget, and we do not follow rules of war when fighting for survival. The Vraxians have awakened something they cannot control. They were warned about us. They chose not to listen. Now they will never escape what comes next. Across the stars. Human forces prepared." The Vraxians expected humanity to fall. Instead, they had triggered the most devastating conflict the galaxy would ever witness, and it was just beginning.